Kanye is 14 years old. He is autistic. He loves to paint. It is therapeutic for him. We take a tour of some of Kanye's paintings at his gallery and exhibition center.
We recognize how art has been able to help Kanye, especially in overcoming a lot of, what goes with autism, especially hyper. We notice that when he's doing art, he's very calm. It helps him to focus. So we said, okay, art has been able to help him. Why don't we have a place as well where we can do art therapy for children with autism, not only autism, special needs children, even adults. This, you will not believe when he's painting. He's a different human. Yes. He can be there for hours. Yes. Like now, he can't sit still. But when he's painting, he can paint for 5 hours.
This is proof that when a child with autism is well nurtured, he or she can turn out amazing. However, it is not always rosy. This woman tells the story of her late autistic daughter.
I was diagnosed at 18 months in America because there was nothing here at the time. They had therapists, but they needed to know exactly what was wrong. And when we decided to go and find out, I was actually hoping that they would tell me she had something that was a quick fix. I'd heard about autism because I was reading up, but when they said to me, it's not an illness, it's a condition. And when you tell someone that it's a condition, that means you have to live with it throughout your life. But my husband was very supportive, and he was there. Both of us journeyed together, her siblings too, everybody was understanding, and people around us. Coming up to her death, we didn't know that it was going to happen at the time it happened because we moved to Abuja, and she suddenly started having seizures. She had her dinner, she finished, went upstairs, but I noticed she was a bit unsettled. I was in the living room and I came down. So she came downstairs, turned off the TV. That meant I should come up with her, put away her plate and went to the kitchen, did a few things and went up. So I went upstairs with her. But getting upstairs, she was unsettled. She also now opened the door for me to leave. She does that sometimes. So I left and I went downstairs. But I didn't hear anything again. Then all of a sudden I said, let me go and check to see whether she'd slept. And I saw her face down on the mattress. She'd lost some oxygen. I turned her and I called a friend who's a doctor in America and I said, this is what has happened. Andrea has had another seizure. What do I do? She said, jump on the bed and start pumping her heart. So I did that and I was pumping. And she said, just keep on doing that and take her to the hospital. And I took her to the hospital and they confirmed she had a pulse. And while I was there, now I expected them to, do the quick, use the defibrillator and all that. And the doctor was just pacing slowly. He wasn't reacting like somebody who was handling an emergency case. And I said to him, if you don't do what you're supposed to do, I'm going to jump on the bed and I'll start pumping her heart. And he said to me, madam, you only end up injuring her. Then a few minutes after that, he says to me, when did you say this happened, that your daughter has passed? I said, I couldn't relate it with somebody who told me that I was going to injure the person because I was going to do the CPR myself. So there was nothing. They didn't do what they're supposed to do in the hospital, and that's what led to her death. Because I know that in America, people who come in dead are even, yanked up. So that's just, I just think the negligence was too much. Because of what has happened, I have the urge and the determination to set up a center here that will be world class.
From available statistics, the prevalence of autism in Nigeria is 2.9% amongst children between the ages of 3 to 18 years. In many parts of the country, there is a major cultural hindrance. People with autism are considered to be possessed. What are the features of this disorder? What is the level of stigmatization in Nigeria? And is it possible to have ASD and not know?
We're looking at environmental factors. Is it the food we are eating that is not allowing the immune system of the children, to develop well? We are looking at vaccination. Is it when the children got vaccinated that we had regressive autism? Speaking before and then all of a sudden are not speaking. And then we are looking at genetics. Some people have 2 or 3 children on the spectrum. Does it run in the families? So those are some of the questions that are out there that research is still ongoing.
Okay, so can you tell us the characteristics of those who are autistic?
Some of the signs that you would see is that the child is not, giving you eye contact. As we're chatting now, we're looking at one another and there are no challenges. The child is either looking in one direction or the other direction or looking down. So these are some of the signs. And the second major sign is my child is not speaking. And sometimes you call them, they don't answer to their names. Sometimes a lot of them have sensory issues. You find some of them covering their ears to large sounds or closing their eyes when the light is too bright. And then a lot of them do not have social skills. So as we are seated here now, you will find that the child moves away from the crowd and wants to play alone. And if you want to interact with that child and you pull that child towards you, the child would resist or sometimes would even turn into a tantrum, And some of them have what we call the isms. That is when they look from the corner of their eyes, they are flapping, they are rocking, and they are very hyperactive. So those are some of the signs that will tell you that, there's something wrong with this child and I should get the help that is needed.
Speak to the conscience of parents that, are oblivious or they try to hide from the fact that their children are autistic.
Accept the diagnosis that the child has autism. Many parents are in denial and it boils down to the stigma. They don't want their children stigmatized against. And like I was telling you earlier, some children have grown up with autism and their parents hiding the diagnosis from them. And they also being bullied in school. They come out and say, I'm just different. They don't even want to use the word autism. Meanwhile, they are struggling, socially, struggling and battling anxiety, battling rejection from the community because they are different, and battling, having to form friendships.
So what's your message to the government in Nigeria? What can they do differently in Nigeria?
Autism awareness in Nigeria is very low. That's why we can't stop talking about it. Truth about it is that the government is not saying anything about it. So there is nobody that oversees centers with autism. Nobody oversees the therapists that go into the homes, because you have therapists that go into the homes, and nobody checks on them. It is possible to be an adult and not know. We are getting a lot of adults now that want diagnosis because they know something is not quite right. For instance, we employ them at the center. So we get some adults that walk up to us and say, I would like to be diagnosed. I would like help in this area that I'm dealing with.
Mrs. Akonde is not just an expert. Her autistic son is concluding his PhD studies, another evidence of good management. This year, the theme for the World Autism Awareness Day is Caller. How better to illustrate this than the works of Kanye?
Went to Canada and we got a second opinion. And then what they diagnosed him was PDD-NOS. Now everything is autism spectrum disorder, but then they segmented it. Normally when I give interviews, they say, he started painting at 5, he started painting at 6, like that. Then a couple of days, my sister flew in from Benin and we started talking about Kanye and his talent and everything. And she said, who told you he started painting at 5? No, Kanye came to my house at 2. And Kanye was scribbling all over the place then. And I'm like, why? And when I looked at it, there was symmetry. Then he used to scribble everywhere and on the walls. My walls are painted again and everything. But we actually say 5 because it's actually putting acrylic on canvas at 5.
So when you realized that he was autistic, how did you take it?
Hard. Yeah, hard. if anybody tells you it has been easy, that is a roller, no. It is hard. You need to put in the work for you to get that talent, to be able to get them to be able to be self-sufficient. You have to put in the work as a mom, you have to put in the work as a dad. And that's what my husband and I did. There is no shame in being autistic, no. It's the way you treat the child, that's the way other people will treat the child. You as a parent must first of all accept that child. Acceptance, that's the first thing I tell people. Accept the child for being who he or she is. He or she is different. Different is not bad. Different is good. Because they are wired differently. They think differently. They see differently. And they are talented in their own way.
So, the important notes: shun stigmatization, report early symptoms such as delayed speech, inability to associate and form friendships, and lack of concentration. It's been established many famous people have shown that autism is not a hindrance. The likes of the founder of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO of X, Elon Musk, but this has not stopped them from making a difference in the world.